Magic realism. This literary style of writing is one of the most celebrated literary currents in Latin America. It is characterized by the implementation of magical, fantastic, and mythical elements within everyday narratives. When we talk about magic realism, we have to mention Miguel Ángel Asturias, who was a Guatemalan writer, diplomat, and Nobel laureate. His celebrated novel called Mr. President or Señor Presidente, written in 1956, is considered a classic of Latin American literature and one of the earliest examples of this current. Because he incorporates in the narratives dreamlike elements and symbols in order to picture the harsh realities of the dictator time in Central America. Asturias portrays the main character, focusing on a symbolic and surrealistic narrative, since the dictator is represented as a presence and has no specific name. He is just called Mr. President. In the beginning, he is described as a gloomy man, with a vacant look and fractures marked as he were a skeleton. He is portrayed like he were a phantom, and most of the time he is present in a symbolic way. When, for example, he talks with his military colleagues or when his inferiors complete with the orders of murdering the political opposition, in that way embodying the cruelty and arbitrariness of political power. All along the story, we stay in a constant alert state, immersed in a dense atmosphere, full of pain, fear, and uncertainty, as to what atrocity will Mr. President carry out against the Guatemalans. In this sense, we know Mr. President more about the environment and the things he does in the story more than his appearances. For example, when the dictator uses the marionette, a homeless and poor man with mental struggles, when he accidentally murdered the Coronel Sonriente, who was the Mr. President's frenemy, and he accused Alfonso Carrera, Camila's father, of having killed Coronel. And this moment triggered important events in the story. Miguel Ángel Asturias' skill in Mr. President leaves me in awe. His ability to immerse us in a symbolic and surreal world confronts us with the brutal reality of dictatorship in Central America. The simple title of Mr. President for the dictator reinforces the omnipresence and an oppressive and cruel power. Reflecting on the preference to fight against arbitrary power rather than submit to it, I cannot help thinking of the courage required to resist in the face of adversity. In a dictatorship, resistance becomes an act of true fortitude. Mr. President challenges us to question and defy oppression, reminding us that, even in dark times, the struggle for freedom may be the only path to redemption and justice.